Greetings, conservatives. This is your humble host, John Moraga, and we are back with more ConservaCast. We look forward to keeping you informed with the latest and most relevant commentary of conservative issues. So without further ado, here are a few topics I'd like to discuss. In the previous episode of ConservaCast, I discussed a piece of legislation out of California, AB 2943. Which was supposed to have banned the commercial transactions of any type of, quote, conversion therapy, end quote. And amazingly, the day that it was supposed to have been signed into law and become legal, surprisingly, the author of the bill had removed it from being signed into law. Now, I say amazingly because both the California Senate and Assembly had a majority vote to approve it. It was quite a shock, actually, when it was announced in the news, and many reports had the story detailing what had gone on. And in summary, the author of the bill supposedly had spoken to a number of religious leaders, and he decided to pull the bill, at least in the meantime. Now, again, because California is so liberal, and because they did, in fact, have majority votes in both the Senate and Assembly, this seemed like a train that had already set out on to travel and was nowhere to be set back into its tracks. So, with a lot of cooperation and organization, a lot of religious leaders and conservative groups and voices had maintained their resistance toward this bill. And thankfully, it, at the very last minute, was pulled. Now, I discussed this a lot more in detail in the previous episode of ConservaCast for any further detailing on that. Moving on, though, I would like to address something else that I have called news noise. Now, what happens oftentimes on both the left and the right, unfortunately, there's a lot of noise when there is a hot news topic that is out there. Now, without feeding into that, I won't mention any specific news story that I'm thinking of, but it just seems to be the case that oftentimes, more often than preferred, when there is a story that has legs and people seem to be interested in it, it takes on a life of its own. And I don't mean to undermine the importance of any particular story, but it unfortunately has a counterproductive effect in that it blurs and deafens some of the other important news that may be out there. And so even a lot of conservative outlets and personalities will just jump on something either for ratings or for advertising or because it is the talk of the town, so to speak. And so, as I said, without feeding into that, I won't mention anything specifically. But that has just been kind of weighing on my mind that we need to have a bit more of an attention span as conservatives and be more responsible with the time that we invest into the news that we consume, into the information that we take in. So one of the things that I do want to mention that may be overlooked, that is the situation with Iran. Now, President Trump has recently announced that he will be moving forward with certain sanctions on Iran. And as a result, apparently the EU, the European Union, Russia, and China plan on bypassing some of those sanctions and still doing business with Iran. They plan to cooperate with each other in utilizing something that's known as the SPV, or the Special Purpose Vehicle. Now, without going into any specifics of the details of that, I will encourage you to do further research into that. But needless to say, my point is just that there is some heavy activity going on in Iran and some of the sanctions that are causing the European Union and Russia and China to kind of undermine the U.S. efforts to pigeonhole Iran. What has been a hallmark of President Obama's administration to reach out to Iran has been something that has not been the most beneficial to the U.S. and the world at large, in fact. Speaking of China, the U.S. has recently flown, within the past week or so, a few B-52s into the highly sensitive areas of the South China Sea. And as many of you may know, that is a contested area of territory that China has been building up man-made islands with some of the reefs that have been essentially underwater. Again, without spending too much time into the details of that, I would encourage you to do some more research if you aren't fully aware of what is happening in that region. But needless to say, the U.S. has shown their resistance to the claims that China has on some of that area by flying B-52s through the airspace in a lot of the contested area there. On a side note specific to Conservatives Corner, we have been finalizing the syllabi of our upcoming courses that we will be presenting and offering for those interested. We have been developing several different aspects of our three pillars of conservatism. They are biblical precedent, natural law, and federalism. And we've tried to simplify it into those three, but obviously there's far more in-depth analysis of what those mean and far deeper understanding of conservatism as a whole. The syllabi that we have compiled and developed seeks to go a bit further into some of those ideas and concepts and some of the people who have influenced conservatism in the past. We are also offering some insights into where we think conservatism may be going in the future. Conservatives, just by nature, are invariably of an older demographic, and that is a bit understandable. As we progress in life, we tend to reflect on some of the immature and irresponsible actions that we've taken that tend to be more indicative of a liberal mindset. And so as we mature and grow, we tend to embrace more conservative ideas. Thankfully, there are a number of people who are not of an older demographic and who are still quite young, who have embraced conservative ideas, and we want to be able to facilitate their curiosity and their research into what conservatism is about and the conservative values and ideas. So in short order, we will be posting on our website and social media what we have in store and offering a few previews as to what to expect in the next few months. If you haven't already, please check us out at gofundme.com/Conservatives Corner. gofundme.com/Conservatives Corner. Once again, that's gofundme.com/Conservatives Corner. Thanks for joining us once again, and we hope you will invite your friends and family to join us in our efforts to champion conservatism for generations to come.